Hey, spooky people, it's your best friend Qenny here with another spooky, disturbing story. If you like spooky, disturbing stories, please subscribe to my channel, A Spooky Lawyer. Like this video and share it. Send it to your coworkers. Send it to your coworkers. Send it to your boss. Your boss will love me. Today, we're going to talk about the mystery of the Mad Gasser of Mattoon. This story takes place in Mattoon, Illinois. No, the Mad Gasser of Mattoon has nothing to do with the Chipotle there. This story takes place in the late summer of 1944. Mattoon was a small town in Illinois, and this was during World War II. Not a lot of people were expecting there to be much going on in the middle of Illinois during World War II, but a mysterious figure who would be dubbed the Mad Gasser would wreak havoc for some time. In the early hours of August 31st, residents began to report an unusual aroma, something like a mix of flowers and chemicals that left them feeling sick and disoriented. It's generally how I feel when I'm in a Victoria's Secrets. One of the first victims was a woman who claimed that she was attacked in her own home. She reported feeling nauseated and dizzy after smelling the strange gas. Soon, more and more reports came in, and panic spread like wildfire throughout the small town of Mattoon. One incident occurred at a house on Grant Avenue. Urban Rafe was awakened during the early hours of the morning by a strange odor. He felt nauseated and weak and ended up vomiting. He suspected that he was suffering from a domestic gas poisoning, or perhaps a gas leak in the kitchen. Rafe's wife tried to get up to see if the kitchen stove had been leaking. However, she found out that she was partially paralyzed and unable to leave her bed. Later that evening, a similar incident was reported by a young mother living close by. She woke up to the sound of her daughter coughing, but found herself unable to get up out of bed. On September 1st, there was a third reported incident. Elaine Qenny of Marshall Avenue reported smelling a strong, sweet odor around 11 p.m. At first, she thought the smell was just the flowers from outside the window, but the odor soon became stronger, and she lost feeling in her legs. Elaine Qenny panicked and called her sister, Ms. Reedy, who was in the house at the time. Ms. Reedy also noticed the odor and determined that it was coming from the direction of the bedroom window, which was open at the time. They contacted the police, but no evidence of a prowler was found. Elaine's husband, Bert Qenny, returned home to find an unidentified man hiding close to one of the house's windows. The man fled, and Qenny was unable to catch him. Kearney's description of the prowler was of a tall man dressed in dark clothing, wearing a tight-fitting cap. This description was reported in the local media and became the common description of the gasser throughout the Mattoon incident. In the days following the Qenny incident, there were half a dozen similar attacks, though none of the purported victims were able to provide a clear description of the prowler, and no clues were found at the scene of the attacks. The first piece of physical evidence was found on the night of September 5th when Carl and Belula Cordes returned home around 10 p.m. After spending a few minutes in the house, they noticed a piece of white cloth, larger than a man's handkerchief, sitting on the porch next to the screen door. Belula picked up the cloth and smelled it. As soon as she inhaled, she became violently ill. Her face began to swell, and she experienced a burning sensation in her mouth and throat and began to vomit. She also reported feeling weak and experiencing partial paralysis in her legs. She believed later that the cloth had been left on the porch in order to knock out the family dog, which usually slept there, so the prowler could gain access to the house unnoticed. The cloth would later be analyzed by authorities, but they found no chemicals on it that could explain Beula's reaction. Public concern over the alleged gassings quickly rose, and the FBI became involved. And the local police issued a statement calling on residents to avoid lingering in residential areas and warning that groups set up to patrol for the gasser should be disbanded for public safety. Soon, local police had received so many false alarms, mostly from citizens believing that they smelled gas or that they had seen a prowler, that they reduced the priority afforded to the gasser reports and eventually said the entire incident was likely the result of explainable occurrences exacerbated by public fear. Over the next few days, dozens of residents described similar experiences, with many alleging they saw a shadowy figure lurking in the night. Fear took hold, and people began to arm themselves, ensuring they were safe from this unseen menace. The local police became overwhelmed with calls. They searched high and low for the so-called Mad Gasser, but found nothing. No evidence, no suspects. The police remained skeptical of the accounts throughout the entire incident. Police believed that there were simple explanations for a lot of the gassing, such as spilled nail polish or odors emanating from animals or local factories. The alleged victims made quick recoveries from their symptoms and suffered no long-term effects. Nevertheless, the local newspapers ran alarmist articles about the reported attacks and treated the accounts as fact. The attacks were widely considered to be a cause of mass hysteria. However, others maintained that the Mad Gasser actually existed. So, who was the Mad Gasser? Like I said, there are a few theories. First, most obvious theory, there was an actual assailant. There was a guy running around Mattoon, Illinois, gassing people. Why? What he accomplished? Unclear. Again, the gasser was described as being a tall, thin man dressed in dark clothing, wearing a tight fitting cap. The gasser had also been described as carrying a filth gun, which is an agricultural tool for spraying pesticide, which purportedly was used to expel the gas. It's unclear whether or not he had an old timey evil mustache, but in my head he does. Another theory is that this was just a mass hysteria event. People heard of alarming events and then began panicking when confronted by an odor or shadow at the window. Some believe that the stress of World War II may have caused people to partake in this mass hysteria. Choking, swelling of mucous membranes, and the weakness, temporary paralysis have all been suggested symptoms of hysteria. Another theory is it was just fumes from various plants in the area. The odors and symptoms reported may have been the result of pollutants or toxic waste released by nearby industrial plants. And of course, there are those that believe it was a paranormal or extraterrestrial figure. Personally, I like the idea of a stinky ghost. Now, the Mad Gasser of Mattoon has become a legend, a local legend in the area. And people still believe that this person is on the run or got away with it. So, what do you think? Was there really a Mad Gasser? Or was this all just a mass panic? If you like spooky, disturbing stories and want to hear more, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon for notifications of when I post. Follow me on Twitter and TikTok. My username is AKBrews. If there is a spooky or disturbing story you would like me to research and cover, send me an email at thespookylawyer@gmail.com. Yeah, and let me know your thoughts on this in the comments below. Thanks for watching my video, and as always, stay spooky.